So so anyway, so I thought maybe you were my sister messing with me today. But yeah, but don't sorry, I'll fix the bouncing next time. Let's try to focus here. All right. So basically this yield curve shows that it shows interest rates on bonds of different maturities. And if you go further out, typically the yield curve doesn't look like this. Typically the yield curve is actually sloping upward. And actually, in this case, you have what you call an inverted yield curve. And where the way you know it's inverted is you notice that as you go out further, the yield starts to go down. That means that the longer term bonds have lower interest rates attached to them than the lower yields than the shorter term bonds. That's a problem. That's a big problem. An inverted yield curve is typically a strong predictor that there might be an a recession on the way. So when you look at that yield curve, the question that might be asked is, well, what does a yield curve normally look like? So let me show you all what a normal yield curve is supposed to look like. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up here. A normal yield curve looks a lot like this. So a normal yield curve is upward and it goes up to the right. The inverted yield curve is a traditional metric that can predict when a recession is either happening or it's on the way. And so that's yet another piece of information that got me thinking in terms of what's going on with this economy. Now, as we move forward, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. If you like this type of stuff, if you like Black wealth content, I do have a podcast on Spotify. I have two of them. One's called the Dr. Boyce Breakdown, and the other one is called Dr. Boyce Daily Stock Market. So if you type Dr. Boyce in Spotify, you'll find me there. Also, tonight, we're going to do stock options training. So if you're interested in generating income by selling stock options, that's the main thing we focus on in this class. It's called Prime. Feel free to go to drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com. I think selling stock options is a great way to make money. So feel free to join us tonight. All right. So that right there is another piece of evidence that we could be in a recession already. Now here, let's keep going here. In terms of another piece of evidence that says that we could be in a recession. Let me pull this one up. This is one that really got my attention too. It has to do with that consumer. Remember I was telling you how consumers are the ones that have pretty much boosted up the economy because Americans love to spend money. Well, if you look here, this article, basically looking at data for the last quarter of 2024, it's from CNBC, and it basically says that credit card delinquencies are higher, and also consumers are more and more readily making the minimum payments on their credit cards right now. That's a bad sign. That's not good news. It says here, let me read some of this to you. It says the share of active credit card holders just making the minimum payments rose to 10.75% in the third quarter of 2024, the highest ever going back to 2012. So you got to go all the way back over a decade, 12 years, to find numbers that high. The share balances more than 30 days past due rose to 3.52%, an increase from 3.21%, a year-over-year gain of more than 10%. Even with the rising delinquency rate, it is still well above the 6.8% peak, or well below the peak during the 08-09 financial crisis, and not yet indicative of serious strains. So that might be another number to keep up with and pay attention to as you're trying to figure out if we're in a recession or not. Again, I can't say that we are or are not for sure, but I can't say that these are things that are worth paying attention to. Now, should I buy bonds right now? I personally think bonds should always be in your portfolio. I have a list of bond funds that I like, and I'm sending them out to the students. If you want to get this list, text the word money to the number 87948. I'll also send you a link to a training I did called How to Make Money Without Working.